All right, this is data from the Department of Health in Tennessee. I'm using Tennessee because the data from Texas is in dispute. There's a lot of questions about if they're capturing this information correctly. So they also have a really cool interactive dashboard here. We can see of all the people who have had the vaccine, um, like how they fall, how many people were different ages. We can filter different ways. Very cool. See over time, doses delivered from different companies. All right, looks good. One thing that surprised me when looking at this data is that only 5% or 5.81% of the people who have been vaccinated are identified as Black or African American. So that seemed a lot smaller than I would have expected. Let's write this down. I'm going to pull up Excel here. So we're going to say we have people who are identified with the race of Black or African American, and then we have a total. Oop. All right, and for this vaccines, the number of people who got the vaccine who are Black is 27,704, and the total number of people who got the vaccine is 467. So if we take the population of people who are Black divided by the total, we get 5.9. I don't know why these numbers don't match. They should match. Anyway, pretty close, right? 6% of the population. All right, very good. But that seems low because the population of African Americans, people who identify as Black in Tennessee, is bigger than 5% or 6%. So I went to this cool website, and then I went to here. This is the Census Bureau, and looking at the household information for the state of Tennessee. The latest data we have is for 2019, but that's good enough for our purposes. Come down here and we have a group labeled race, and it's broken down. So we have people who identify with one race or two races. Okay, have some a mix here, but we're going to take just the one race because the other information we have is just one race. So total number of Black or African American people identified here is 1,141,000. So I'm going to say census. We'll move this over here so we can see the numbers. 1,141,304. Awesome. And the total number of people who identify as one race, just to solve our kind of question about the small group of people who identify with more than one. We're just going to look at their proportion for one race. Total population here is 667,928. If we take this number and divide it by this number, we get the proportion of people in Tennessee that are identified as Black or African American. This is the proportion of the population in Tennessee then. So 17% of people who live in Tennessee identify as Black or African American, but only 6% of people who got vaccines in Tennessee identify as Black or African American. Is this weird? Well, let's find out. First thing we want to do is point difference. So we're going to take what we identified minus what the census is. So that's how far apart they are in general. We're going to divide that now. That point difference, we're going to divide it. There's a couple of steps here. So first, let's just call this step 1. We're actually going to take the census information, so it's equal to the census times 1 minus the census. All right, that's a little weird, but just go with it. That's what you do. Now we need to divide that by the number of people in this group. So step 2 is we're going to divide this by the number of people we have in our smaller sample. Okay, that number is wicked small. So step 3 is that we're going to use the square root, which will actually make this number larger. Boom. All right, cool. That's all information on the denominator. So this is our numerator, the number above the line, and this is going to be the denominator. And next, this is going to be our z-score. All right, drum roll, equals point difference divided by that denominator equals. Our z-score is 203. It is astronomically unlikely that they're the same. If we think about this, let's do a norm dot dist inf. Yeah, all right. I forgot to S before. Norm.s.div. Let me say this number, and then ask, is it cumulative? And we'll say, sure. Probability of this happening by random chance is 0. 0. It's exceptionally small. The number here basically is 203 standard deviations away from what we would expect. Does that mean that Tennessee is racist? Not necessarily. People are choosing to take these. So if there's something that's systematically preventing people who are people of color from getting this, then that would be probably racist. But if people just choose not to get it for whatever reason, then that's their choice, and it's not necessarily racist. But what this shows us is there is a extreme disparity between what we would expect and what we're seeing. And if I were running the Tennessee Department of Health, I would be very concerned by these numbers. One possible explanation could be that people are just misidentified. So perhaps this number is larger because people identified as either unknown or as multiracial, and that's not the way that we're counting our data. Right? So there could be something going on there. But that's overall these numbers, extreme difference in what we would expect.